Welcome to Sacredly Selfish, a space where we flip the script on what it means to choose yourself.
I'm Megan, and together with Raju, we're diving into raw, real conversations that explore self-love, boundaries, healing, and what happens when women stop abandoning themselves and start living in alignment.
Because being selfish isn't wrong. When it's sacred, it's revolutionary.
We're so glad you're here. Now, let's get selfish. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the evolution of friendships, how your friendships are changing and evolving from your 20s to your 30s, hanging on to friendships when maybe they no longer serve who you are now, meeting people who are more aligned with myself and where I'm going. Not to say that the people from my 20s or even family members, I'm really close to so many of my cousins, and how we're all in different stages of life, and that's okay. It's more so where you can find that commonality and having the ebbs and flows in friendships. You don't have to talk every day to be connected, and just being able to have quality, and it's quality over quantity. And I feel in your 20s, you want to have so many friends and you want to have so much fun and you want to do different things and maybe different groups of friends. And then how that kind of changes as you grow and maybe you're getting married or you're having children. And then that kind of changes the pool of friendships. So we're just going to have a deep dive on friendships, where we had our friendships in 20s and how they differ from our 30s. And for myself, I'll explain like how I've been meeting new people, and the more you flow into yourself and find out who you are, the more people that gravitate towards you because you guys are on the same aligned mission.
Yeah, it's a great topic. I'm so excited to dive into this. This is not for everybody because I know some people they do find their core people in their 20s, but I think a lot of friendships they go through this change of where sometimes that friend will be with you through a lifetime and sometimes those friends are only there for a season. And that's because that's who you are in that moment that you are with those friends, and you're finding people that are serving you during that period of time. And as you grow, some people don't grow in the same way as you do, or they're going down a different path than you are. And friendships do fall apart. And it's just knowing that's okay. And, you'll find like friends as you go into your 30s and you are, again, like Megan was saying, maybe you're getting married, maybe you're like getting a new career, or you moved away. You start gaining different friends. And I think it's just that reminder that it's okay if friendships have, evolved into a place where you no longer maybe consider that person super, super close with you, but they're still somebody that you talk to, or you just don't talk to them anymore. It's just a reminder that that has nothing to do with yourself. Like it's not something you're doing wrong. It has a lot to do with your personal growth and that person's growth too. Maybe you're still stuck where you were and you're not able to really figure out where your next path is going to be, and that person may be on a whole different journey and you're just not aligning in that moment, and that's okay too. It's not about how many friends you have. I know growing up in my 20s, I always felt like I had to make a lot of friends in order to find that worthiness within myself. I needed all these friends to just be kind of cool, or somebody that, everybody liked. But as I've gotten into my 30s, I'm comfortable with just having a handful of friends and girlfriends that, I can talk to. Like Megan said, not every day, but, I still have close relationships with them. And then there's always that, couple of friends that you do talk to on a daily basis, and each of those people like really fill my cup up. They fill my soul up. We'll talk a little bit more about each of our experiences with that.
Just when you're talking about like when they fill your cup, it's like also noticing, when do you go out for dinner? Say you're going out for dinner, and maybe these are your older friends that you've grown up with, maybe when you're in your teens, high school, and you go for dinner, and then you realize you go home and you're just so drained and so tired, and your energy is so depleted. Noticing that, and also being able to discern, okay, like, did I say yes to this when it was a no? And then you weren't really in the right frame of mind. I notice that when I more so go out, I always gauge myself, okay, what's my energy feeling like? Because I notice that the people that I am aligned with more so, and it also depends on your human design. I will say that human design is very important. I am a generator. So when I am connecting with people and it sparks something in me. So it gives me energy so I can keep going, have so much fun. Like, do you ever have those friends where you just connect with them? You go to dinner and you're talking for hours and hours and hours and you don't even know what you're talking about, but it's just so amazing. I've now noticed the more that I'm connecting within to what I like and what I love, that's a big notice from when my 20s to my 30s is I was doing what everyone else wanted to do because I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I liked. I wanted everyone to like me. I just was such a people pleaser. And how unauthentic is that to show up and be like, oh, whatever you want. Oh, I'll have whatever you're having, not having a mind of your own to decide whether you want something or not. And what a disservice that's doing to the group that you're with. It's so important to really connect within. And this doesn't go for everyone. This is just me personally. I was a people pleaser, so that's where a lot of my stories are going to come from because I was just wanting to be loved and wanting to be liked by everyone. And so I was the good girl, wanting to be like, okay, whatever you want to do, sure, let's go to this restaurant I absolutely hate because you want to do that. And so I think when I was in my 20s, I didn't want to be alone. So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's go to this club. Let's do this. And I just felt like I belonged somewhere. And I think now, so in my mid 30s, I'm like, okay, going to a club or going to a bar just doesn't align with me, and that's okay. Maybe when I'm traveling, that's different. I like to go and do that with certain people, and then that's fun. But on a daily basis, I'm not going to surround myself with the people who want to do that all of the time. So I think it's really important to just discern and know what you internally, what you like and what you dislike, and find the people. For example, I have dance tonight. I've met a lot of women, different ages, older, younger, different shapes and sizes, and we are putting on a show. There was a spark inside of me to do this dance class. And so when I went, of course, I was nervous, scared. I didn't know how to meet other people, but that was a great way. It's something that I really enjoyed, or there was a spark there that, okay, let's try that. And then don't come back for a season and then everyone's like, oh my god, hey, how are you? And then you're chit chatting amongst each other, and then you find your aligned friendships that way as well. You go to the places that spark you, and then that's also sparking someone else, and though that's how you find your community.
I think going back to the people pleasing part, I think there's a lot more people pleasers than people want to admit. Like I was a people pleaser 100% in my 20s, and I think most women at one point will go through a pleasing phase. And I was like that. My friends group in my 20s, whatever they were doing, I would dress the way they're dressing. I would just follow along with whatever social media may be saying is the new trend, just because I felt that's what I had to do to fit in with everybody. And if I was not wanting to do the new makeup trend or the clothing trend, then my friends group may not consider me as close to them because I'm not really interested in the same things that they are interested in. So I found myself being a people pleaser, a follower in my 20s. And as I went into my 30s, I started really noticing I wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling like these friendships were really fulfilling me. They were leaving me drained. They were leaving me really questioning myself and not really understanding who I was as a person. So that part for me, I started noticing in my early 30s, but I would say that a lot of changes for me happened after my husband passed away. And I think that's very self-explanatory. You have this big situation that happens in your life, and then you start really picking each friendship apart and being like, oh, what's going on in this friendship? How come I haven't heard from that person? How come I haven't heard from that person? And you really start seeing that certain friendships where you may have just kind of muddled them into one big group of people and all these people are equal to me, but really when you start reflecting back, it wasn't. Each friendship had their own special relationship, and when you start sitting back and really understanding who you are as a person, you start really seeing which friendships align with you currently and which ones don't. So I have three sisters. So for me, I've never really been looking out for that girlfriend friendship as much because I've always had that within my family. And it's important to know that friendships can be your siblings as well. Like when you include your friends, you don't have to only think of people that are not related to you. Like you were saying, your cousins.
Yeah, I was like, my cousins, that was my friend group. We're all within 3 years of each other, and there's six of us. That is the core people that I grew up with. One of my cousins, who's 6 months younger than me, we did preschool together, we did high school together, we did our post secondary schooling together. Those are considered friendships too, even though they're your familial ties. I think
Yeah.
people think, oh, well, you need people outside of your family to have friends. And I don't agree with that.
Oh, exactly. And with you bringing up that you need to have friends outside of your family ties, right? And you're not
Mhm.
agreeing with that. I felt like that in my 20s, that me having my sisters, they're not considered my friends. They're considered my siblings. So I was always searching for friends outside of that. But now, being in my 30s, I can count my closest people on my hand. And those include my sisters. Those are the people that matter the most to me. And these are the people that I feel more aligned with. One of my sisters, the one that's a year and a half older than me, Summer, like, she's never cared for friends. And I never understood that. I was like, why does she not have friends? She's like, you're my best friend. I don't really need to have more friends than that. And I always thought maybe she was more shy. She wasn't as social and outgoing. And here I am, a chatterbox and all of this. That's why she didn't have any other friends. But as I'm getting older, your older sister always knows best. I'm
Mhm.
understanding a bit more that having a lot of friends is not always in the best interest for you. It's the quality of friends you have. So that being said, I've had this discussion with Megan as well in terms of currently in my life right now, I am a mom of two. And Megan said, how do you meet mom friends? I can't remember what you asked me.
I think I said, do you like having mom friends, or do you want to have mom friends, or how do you meet them at activities? I was just so
Yeah.
curious because we were talking about how I'm meeting so many people who are mostly in my life stage, which is being single. I have a lot of people who don't have kids. So I think I just assumed that you had a bunch of mom friends, and that's how the
Yeah.
conversation got sparked.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this since you asked me this, and I actually had a conversation with one of my friends as well too about this. I do not have a lot of mom friends, if I'm being very honest. And that isn't because I'm not social. And my kids are very young. So right now, my kids are not in a lot of sports, or they're not in elementary school. They're in daycare. Maybe if you're in a smaller town, you may know more people in the daycare, the parents, but daycare is a different ballgame. It's not like school, elementary school, where you're seeing the same parents. I go to work. My in-laws drop my kids off at daycare. So for me, I don't interact with any other parent. I do not know any of my kids' friends' parents that's in daycare. So for me, that's different. But in terms of like having mom friends, I haven't found the need to want to have mom friends, if that makes sense. And maybe because,
Mhm.
again, my sisters all have kids. So maybe that's why I don't really find the need to meet mom friends so I can find a support system when it comes to raising children. Because, oh gosh, you need a support system with that. So that could be the reason. I was thinking more about it after our last conversation when I said, I don't even want to have mom friends. And then one of my friends said, she's like, no, but it's really good. The kids can hang out. It's good to have mom friends. Okay, so I agree with that. You do need a support system where people understand your current life state. But also, when you're a parent, sometimes you want to turn that off. Of course, kids need to have play dates, they need to socialize, they need to interact. I understand that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with making mom friends, but for myself personally, when I am hanging out with a friend, I don't want our kids present all the time. And usually if you make a mom friend, majority of the time your kids are present, 90% of the time. When it comes to me with friendships, currently right now, I am finding on this journey of really discovering the authentic me. I have like found a lot of people within just the community that my coach is in. And because a lot of these women are down similar path and they're spiritually like-minded and motivated and learning and growing as themselves and really being able to support each other. It's a sisterhood. What I'm also finding is that I'm in a different life phase than Megan, yet our friendship works. I am a mom of two. Megan is single. We both are in two completely different life phases. She's traveling. I'm not traveling because I have two very young children. If I am traveling, most likely I'm traveling with them. But at the same time, we're still able to come together and maintain our friendship because our thinking is quite similar and we're down the similar path and we align. That's where I want you guys to know that just because you and a friend may not be down the same chapter of life, maybe one is single, going through a divorce, one is just getting married, newly pregnant, whatever the situation may be, it doesn't mean that friendships have to wither away. As long as you know there is one strong common ground between you two, you can make that friendship work. And that's where I love my single friends, not even just my single friends, I guess. Technically, I'm single, but my friends without children is what I'm trying to say. I love them because I feel like when I'm with them, it just gives me this like break of where I can be me and I'm not mom. I'm not mama. Of course, I bring out my kids a lot. I spend 90% of my day with them. I get to be myself and I get to talk about things that just bring me so much freaking joy. And that may include my children, but there's so many other topics we get to discuss and we just get to be girls. Whereas I feel sometimes when I'm with my mom crew, we're talking a lot just about momming or guilt. So just a support system, which is so important. But I love being with you girls, like my friends that don't have children yet. I love being with them.
That's where the ebb and flow goes with friendships. Raj and I met when we were in our 20s, and our friendship back then was
Mm,
so different than what it is now. Now it is so nurturing, it's so natural, and you're talking about real things. In our 20s, we were gossiping about everybody else. We're so materialistic. What handbag did we get? When I think back, and I'm like, wow, what kind of human was I back then? There was no real conversation. There was no substance to our friendship. And this is where the growth happens, right? Like, had I not gone through all the trauma and everything I went through, and then I completely changed. I went and started doing all this healing, seeing a coach, doing all the things. Even Raj can attest to this, that she was like, I don't even know if we're going to be friends anymore because my life path was going so spiritually head on. She thought I was joining a cult and doing all these things. And she's like, I don't know what this Megan girl is doing,
sorry about that because apparently I'm part of the cult now too.
but now she's a part of the cult, and that's okay. It is not a cult, you guys. It is following your soul, finding out who you are, and like evolving and changing and growing. And sometimes that doesn't happen until something big happens in your life, and then you see, okay, like, are the people I've surrounded myself with going to grow with me and change with me? If not, that's okay. Like, that is really truly okay. And like, maybe you see them once in a while. I have a really close girlfriend. We still talk to this day, but not as much. We're not hanging out as much, and we're just on different life paths, and that's okay too. Now that I'm having a mind of my own finally, where I can decide, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to spend my energy and all this kind of stuff? Doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. I can still see her and it'll be like yesterday, you know? So you don't have to talk to these friends every single day to make meaning of it. And so that is where the ebbs and the flows, it's so important. When I was going on this trajectory of something new and she didn't understand it, Raju didn't understand it. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to let her do her thing, which was so beautiful. She didn't come to me and be like, you're crazy. What are you doing? Are you sure this isn't a scam? And all the things, which is very valid because in this day and age that we're living, like the amount of scams out there are ridiculous. So she didn't say anything. And then when I came back from the immersion, and she could really see the changes that I was implementing and that I was doing all these things. And until something big ruptured in her life, was she able to slowly come to the idea and like had it spark something.
Mhm.
And then we were able to grow together, which was
Yeah.
so beautiful. I don't even know if I told you this, Raj, but I was working with my coach, or we were going to go to wineries, and I was a little worried. I was like, okay, I'm on this new path, and is our conversations going to be gossip based? And so
Mhm.
my coach gave me some tips on how to bring it to how she's feeling. And didn't you find that it felt so palpable? The conversation was just so juicy, and we didn't feed any stories that were going
Mhm.
on. Yes, there were things that came up, but we didn't feed the stories. And I was able to ask you, how did that make you feel? And we got to really get so deep. And I feel that was the turning point, our relationship too, of like what path we were going to kind of go on and growing together, and just like who shows up for you too. I feel like that's so important, especially like
Yeah.
when your husband passed. who's showing up for you, and like also realizing what do you expect when someone is showing up for you. And I just think it's so beautiful to witness and grow and see us evolve together. And maybe that won't always be the case, right? Who knows? Maybe I'll have kids one day and I'll be like, what the heck is going on? Maybe there's going to be some changes in your life. Maybe we won't go as far or as deep as we can. But I find now with my friendships are so deep and so rich, and majority of my very, very close friends do not live in Vancouver. They live all around the world. One of them just moved to Kenya. She was really close to me in Vancouver, one of my soul sisters, and it was really hard to watch. To me, I was like, oh my gosh, she's leaving me. And what am I going to do? And oh, wait, no, we can still talk on the phone. I'm so proud of her and I'm so excited for her journey to like go on this new adventure, this new life path. And again, it's just like, how are we showing up for each other in this friendship? You can always still be connected. You don't have to be going out with each other to dinners and to doing all this to have meaningful connections. One of my best friends, I love her to pieces. She lives in Austin and we voice note daily. You can still be connected with people without seeing them. And I think that is so important to also realize. And when you're thinking of friendships, it doesn't always necessarily mean you have to be in the same city. Obviously, we met at the immersion in Greece. And I have a lot of people when I did my solo trip, I met there and I'm still connected to them. And it's just, you never know who you're going to meet when you're searching and trying to find yourself. I've met so many people. I have such a vast, and that's another thing. I do have a lot of quality and and quantity friends because now it's just
Mhm.
like we're on the same growth path. And that's not to say, I said earlier, that one girlfriend that I have known since high school doesn't mean we're not still friends. It's just different. You show up so authentically, and sometimes things fall away and they're not as potent, they're not as aligned, and that is okay. I think that's so important to give yourself grace and not holding on to things. Just to weave it back a little bit, in my 20s, with all my cousins, everyone was into designer and doing all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I need to keep up. I need to do all this stuff. And I started becoming very materialistic. I want to get this Gucci bag and I want to get this Louis Vuitton and doing all that stuff. And I totally lost my individuality because I was trying to keep up with what everybody else had. What am I doing? Why am I spending and investing all this money? Yes, I do love some of the designer bags that I have. I'm not going to hate on it. I do love them and I do take them out. But now I will go and I'll see something that's a $20 bag and I'm like, oh, damn, that's so my new style. And that's also a part of growing and changing, and also realizing you don't have to get what everybody else is getting you to fit in. And I feel we're trying so desperately to fit in, we're losing ourselves. And to really come back home, I have this one funky beaded bag and it's a white one. I got it at Front and Company. When I showed it to my sister and my mom, they're like, oh, that's not you at all. But they don't really see this new person that I've evolved into as much as the people that I'm connecting with and doing all these things. So when I went out to the going away party for my friend who was moving to Kenya. And everybody there absolutely adored my bag. And it was like a light bulb went off. The people you surround yourself with. The people you surround yourself with are gonna love you for you. They're gonna see the spark. They're like, where did you get that bag? I absolutely love it. And that was just me showing my individuality, something I never would have done in my 20s, even in my early 30s. I'm just slowly starting to get into the groove of things. So it's just, you're going to find your people, not to give up hope and to know, just keep showing up as yourself truly and honestly. And the people will find you. The more you go out to what brings you joy, or like an event, say you even want to go for dinner. And I feel like I do this a lot too. I do go for dinner by myself. I will go and I will take myself on a little date, and you never know who you're going to meet. Honestly,
Mhm.
that's how things get sparked.
Yeah, and I think the people you surround yourself, they will see you for who you are. If you're surrounding yourself with people that you don't feel comfortable with, they won't see you for who you are. They will just see you for who you're probably pretending to be. Going back to, I have so much to say, back to the whole gossiping situation. In my 20s, our friendship back then, it almost felt good to just sit there and gossip because that's all we knew because we didn't know who we were inside.
Yeah.
I myself had no clue who the heck I was. I was just whatever everybody else around me was, that was me. I was just following everybody around, like I was saying earlier. So for me, going on our dinner dates and just sitting there and gossiping about whoever's frustrating us in that moment or whatever story we heard about somebody else, almost in a weird way was like making at least making myself feel like I was part of the group. I had something to bring to the table. And I thought in
Mhm.
order to bring something to the table, it had to be gossip. It had to be complaining and whining and all of that. And back then, I didn't know how to really understand how I feel truly inside myself, that I didn't realize all of that stuff was actually more damaging to my mental health than it was making me feel good now that I've gotten it off my chest or whatever the situation may be. Fast forward to now, when somebody starts gossiping, I get this icky feeling. I get this
Mhm.
feeling like I don't want to be here, or maybe in that moment I may listen to it, but then I go back after and I'm at home and I'm like, oh, that didn't feel good. If you're getting that feeling after you are leaving a place from hanging out with a friend or having a phone conversation with a friend, FaceTime, whatever it may be, and when you hang up or you leave and you're like, I don't feel good. And you can't figure out what that feeling is. You're again feeling drained. You're feeling maybe anxious. You're feeling maybe just a little bit upset. Really sit down with yourself and evaluate, is that coming from the conversations you had with this friend? Where is it coming from? And if it is, then maybe that friendship is no longer aligned, or try to change it the next time you guys hang out.
Yeah, I was gonna say try to change it because that exact situation, which is the only reason why I'm cutting you off, I'm so sorry, is because that happened to me with my more evolved growth friends. We got together and then we were talking about a situation and I engaged in it and I felt
Mhm,
disgusted after. And I was like, why did I engage in
mhm,
that conversation or allow it to go on longer than it needed to go on? This is where I know that there was a change, is because I came back and I realized I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling. I went back the next time I saw them and I brought it up and I said, I didn't feel good after our conversation. And I don't actually agree with half of the stuff I said. I felt like I just needed to belong. And I made sure to be so authentic and so true. And guess what happened? They understood and they met me there. My other girlfriend who was engaging, she said, yeah, it felt icky to me too after when we left. And that's the beauty of it. Keep showing up.
that's a great example. And next time, see how you feel with that friend. Now, if you keep getting that feeling and you're noticing that friend, that's all they want to talk about, and you're noticing that you're not feeling good, your friends should make you feel good at the end of it. And going back to Megan's example, we're human. So some days you do end up having a session where you just want to get something off your chest and it comes off gossipy. That doesn't mean you're always like that. But if somebody's constantly doing that and you're feeling exhausted from it, then it's time to reevaluate that friendship. So, going to when Megan had started down this journey and really starting to change who she was around the time that I was so concerned, I had a choice. So, I could not understand or I could ask questions and try to understand. My husband had already passed away when Megan started this journey. However, obviously, I was in the thick of my grief. It was very, very early on. It wasn't even a year into his passing that Megan had already started her journey. And see, in that situation, if you have a friend where you're like, I don't understand what she's doing, or I don't understand what he's doing. This doesn't make sense to me. This isn't the person that I became friends with. Why don't you just ask? Ask the questions. I'm noticing that you have changed. I'm curious. Where has, like, what has changed? What has shifted? What is make I'm really interested. I'm intrigued, whatever your thought process may be. Because if I didn't ask Megan those questions, our friendship would not be where it is today. We would not be sitting here with you guys and having a podcast.
Yeah, we would be sitting in judgment. We would have been judging each other and where we were going.
Yeah, and of course I had that moment of like, I wouldn't even say it was judgment, it was more concern
Yeah.
again, because there's so much out there that I was so worried. What if she's being scammed and she's going to this retreat in Greece? And what if it's a scam? Because, and also because I didn't ask her questions right away. I started asking questions when I started seeing the change in her, not even just the way our conversations were going, it's just the way she looked. Like you were glowing. You had this like confidence to you that I've never seen in Megan in the last 15 years. And seeing that confidence in you made me attracted to you. You were magnetic. And I was like, oh, what is she doing? And I was in the darkest, deepest freaking hole of my life. And I knew like I wanted to crawl out of it. And I saw her and I was like, she's been in the darkest hole and just buried so freaking deep in her trauma over the last couple of years. But now I'm seeing her just kind of submerge and the light is there. What is she doing? And I'm interested. And that's when I asked her questions. And I think it did start from that winery day
Mhm.
that we had. And it just allowed us to be a bit more open. You asked me questions about how I'm feeling, which a lot of people were not asking me. They're just like, how are you doing? That's such a freaking blanket question. What am I going to say? I'm good. Where you went in deep and started like peeling the layers and asking me questions. And that's when I started noticing that change in you and your responses and how you were flowing through our conversation. And that made me so much more interested, which brought a 15-year friendship that was, based on gossip and continued through that and then went through periods of time where we didn't even talk for 6 months. No situation happened. It's just we were just going through our life, right? And it's like we went through this friendship that was gossip, materialistic. And then it's like all of a sudden life happened for both of us. And then this friendship becomes so deep. You're asking me how I'm feeling. Where do I see myself in 5 years? And why
Mm.
I'm coming back to this is because this was just a year ago, and this was when I really wanted to make a huge change. I want to say this was probably fall of last year, and I remember sitting on your couch, and I remember sitting there just crying. I don't even recognize who I was even a year ago. And I remember sitting there crying, and you saying to me, I think it was your therapist when you got
Mhm.
divorced, where you saw yourself in 5 years, and you are there right now. You never thought you could get there. And I remember sitting there looking at you and just saying, you literally sorry, that 5-year comment that you made of where you are now and you're finally there and you feel so fulfilled by it, I sat there and I looked at you and I said, "There's fucking hope for me." A moment in life that I felt like I had no hope, that I didn't know where life was gonna go, that my friend is here to show me that no matter what obstacles and traumas you go through in life, there is hope. And I can tell you that part of my 5-year plan, I already see parts of it there already, and it's only been a year into me thinking of my 5-year plan, and that comes back to our friendship just evolving into such a beautiful, sacred sisterhood.
And how beautiful is it that because I was able to be vulnerable and share, and for us to come together after such a huge monumental thing and have this conversation, were you able to have this awakening and be like, I can do it too. There, you have so many choices in life, you guys. Like, you are never stuck. Yes, there are moments in life where you think you can't handle it, you can't get further, but you have that one friend, or you have someone who's taken the deepest like leap that they possibly could, because it was just enough was enough. And that's where I was, because enough was enough and I needed something different drastically, and I fucking chose myself and I did it. And how beautiful is it for you to stay in your curiosity and ask questions and be vulnerable? And I feel like that's missing a lot of the time in friendships, is we're afraid to show who we really are. And the people who are meant for you, the people who are supporting you and rooting you on, they're going to stay in your life, not because of obligation or I've known this person for so long. It's because you guys are being open with each other, having real, raw conversations. And we're also living in an age of cancel culture and being afraid to even speak our mind. And so the more you come with curiosity instead of judgment, wanting to hear somebody out instead of jumping down their throat to put your opinion in the mix, be open. Be open, because now look how beautiful it is. I have watched you, Raju, in this last year, and it's been so beautiful to witness and to see you get your light back. And like, you yourself are glowing and not in that deep grief pit. Yeah, do moments come up? Of course, you are human. That is going to happen. And we're here to pick each other up. Your friendships should be the people who are rooting for you, cheering you on. And you should never feel like crap when you're with them. And just really focusing and understanding and noticing, okay, how do I feel? I just can't get over how beautiful it is to have witnessed you and your growth. And it's a step-by-step moment. That 5 years ago for me, and to live it now, I was in literal tears. And it's possible for every single one of us. Every single one of you listening, it's possible, and you can get to the other side.
And again, circling back to the episode, it takes your support system and finding the right people like I have found, like Megan has found. It takes that because that support will be there without judgment. No matter how vulnerable you feel, your heart could be out there on the table and you could just be bawling your eyes out, and you need to find those people that will hold you. And having those right people are so important. I don't think without the support system I have, I would be where I am right now because I wouldn't have had those people to continue to pick me up when I felt like I couldn't stand. It may take you time to find the right people in your life, but I promise you, you guys will find, if you have not already, your right people. It just takes one friend to spark some curiosity, to really allow you to be truly yourself and they don't judge you. It just takes that one friend.
I encourage you all to bring curiosity and questions to your friendships, to your family, and not holding everyone to a standard in which you think that they are. You can change and grow at any point in your life, and you never know what response you're going to get. So be open, be curious, and meet new people, and you never know what's going to get sparked. I hope you really enjoyed this episode today. We love you, and I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in to Sacredly Selfish. Stay connected with us on Instagram and TikTok at Sacredly Selfish. And if this episode spoke to you, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs the reminder that choosing yourself is sacred, not selfish.